Ladies and gentlemen, today guys we're going to be talking about the three principles in order for you to change your mindset. So it's three mindset principles. Now before we get started in the tips, I want to talk about the mindset, why it's important, because just like an airplane has a mechanism that allows it to calibrate where it's going, even when it starts to go off course, it gets right back on track. That's what your mindset serves on the journey for wherever you're trying to do. If you're trying to pursue success, build a business. So the three things I want to talk about today is number one, self-talk. Number two, recalibration. And number three, what are you feeding your mind? So self-talk, let's talk about that. A lot of times we are trained, to talk in ourselves in a negative manner. Man, I can't do this. Man, I'm stupid. Man, I hate this. I'm not good at this. So one of the things you want to start doing is you want to start creating a regimen where you're monitoring what you're saying. You're monitoring what you're telling yourself. You're monitoring how you are addressing yourself. And what ends up happening is you're training yourself to replace negative self-talk with positive. Now, what does that mean? It simply means that what you're going to do is you're going to start to insert positive message anytime you start to notice that your mind's going negative. Anytime you're about to say, man, I can't, you're going to say, how can I? Anytime you're going to say, I'm not good at, you're going to say, how can I get good at? Anytime you're going to say, I'm stupid, say, hey, I'm just learning new things. And what ends up happening is your mindset starts to look at the world in possibilities as opposed to, restrictions, if that makes sense. Now, the second part about this is recalibration. And what I mean by that is, listen, you can't control 100% of where your mind goes and being in a funk, but you can control if you stay there. So there's a lot of successful people who use recalibration just as a method to get back on track. Just think about it that way. What you're trying to do is get back on track. So you notice that your mind is starting to steer off into a negative direction. So what you want to do is you want to then go ahead and say, okay, I need to recalibrate. So you take a pause moment. You have some music. You have a silent area where you go meditate, you go pray, you go work out. You have a what we call a method to turn around that negative mindset. I was reading, I think it was Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins has this thing where he puts on these headphones, and I don't know what he listens to, but he listens to something, and it kind of re-energizes him, recalibrates him, and gets him back into the mood. If you ever seen him before he goes on stage, he has just whole regimen. And from reading some of his books, some of the things that he said is he actually goes into a silent area, puts on these headphones, and listens to specific music. So that's one thing, is recalibration. Midday, when you're starting to feel it, or maybe you're in a negative environment, you need to get out of it. You notice it, and you start to head back in a positive direction. It's like making a U-turn. When you're going the wrong direction in your car, you make a U-turn, right? Well, if it's legal. And the third one is what you're feeding your mind. Listen, the news and the movies and social media is drowning us with negative content, especially right now during this pandemic. Especially, there's this many more people are gonna die, and there's no vaccination, and it's so many crazy things. That we're going to go to war with this country, and it's going to be the end of the world, and your mind can tend to get just scared, fearful, negative, and what ends up happening is you don't want to do anything. You want to just stay in your corner, go home, sit down, do nothing, and that can kill all of your dreams and all of the progress and all the momentum that you've been building, whether in your business, your journey, whatever it is. So we have to start monitoring it. So what you're feeding it. So try to turn off the news, right? Try to turn that off as much as possible. Try to just maybe have a time of your day where you go for half hour, you go look at a specific news article that's not fear-mongering. So that's number one. Number two is start to read. Pick up books that will educate you on specific topics. Books about success, You know, you can read books about self-help books with gurus who have been successful. Watch videos in the morning. It's always good to watch some positive videos, a positive story. Put on some Les Brown, some Tony Robbins. Maybe there's a pastor that you follow, Stephen Furtick or something like that, where you can start feeding your mind, something positive, reading the Bible in the morning. And then the people you get around, obviously they feed you, they influence you. So if you notice that you're constantly around negative people, minimize that. Say, hey, you know what? Let me stop spending time with this one and let me get a new circle of people that can feed me. You're gonna hear this cliche. It's not really a cliche. It's true. You're an average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. Well, the 5 people you hang out with the most also influence your mindset. So you want to make sure that you're feeding your mind constantly positive things, positive information, so that you're not being too much influenced by negative influencers. And then also watch what you do on social media. The people that you have. I'm not saying cut it out, but watch the people that you have. If you have negative people, X them out, and then replace them with somebody who's positive. I did this the other day. I deleted like 200-300 people, and I replaced it with 200-300 people that I cherry picked from groups and from places that I like their content. And what ends up happening is my newsfeed looks better now. Before it was like doomsday. Now it's like, hey, possibilities. The future looks bright, and that can determine your mindset for the day. That can determine how your attitude goes. So watch what you're feeding yourself on social media, and then watch what type of TV you watch. It's cool to watch murder mysteries. It's cool to watch horror stories, but if that's all you're watching, that's going to feed your brain. You're constantly going to be in a negative mindset. And then make sure that you find music that uplifts you, right? Music that lifts you up. Every now and then I put on some praise and worship music. Every day, maybe for an hour, maybe for a half hour. If I'm working out, I may put on some praise and worship just to get myself in good spirits, because I know that my brain is wired that when I hear praise and worship, I'm in better spirits. I feel better about myself. So those are 3 things that you can do, 3 principles that you can do in order to improve your mindset. Watch your self-talk. Make sure you have a regimen for recalibration. And then number 3, watch what you're feeding your mind. And what you'll notice is that the brain starts everything. What you think about and what you say and what you pursue starts in the mind. It starts here. So if your mind is just filled with a bunch of trash, then typically that's what's going to show in your life. You're going to have all these problems, all these things. But once you start to turn this around, then everything else kind of works out. And I'm not saying you don't have to take action or you don't have to do work, but it helps the action. It makes you want to do the work. It gives you the energy that you need so you can do it. Because if you have to battle your mind, a negative mindset every day, the negative mindset's always going to win over everything else. So appreciate you guys. As always, your success is important to me. And watch our other videos so that you guys can get more insight on how to become successful in your either business, your journey, or whatever it is that you're trying to pursue. See you guys out there on the field. Don't forget to click subscribe and the notification bell so you get notified of all of our new videos.